Hello and welcome to the week that was in manufacturing, where members of TM's editorial team sit down to discuss some of the biggest and best stories coming out of UK manufacturing this week. I'm Johnny Williamson, web editor, and joining me this week is TM's editor Callum Bentley. Welcome, Callum.
Johnny.
So let's begin with claims that the government's flagship FitNote scheme isn't in the healthiest shape. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right, Johnny. So the government's FitNote scheme was released with the aim of getting people back to work quicker following illness. However, this week EEF has released its latest results from a survey which it's conducted, which shows the scheme has actually failed to deliver, and this is 5 years on from its original implementation. So EEF has openly stated that the initiative's apparent flop could seriously hamper the UK's attempt to improve sickness absence performance and reduce unnecessary sickness absence in the first place as well. So apparently only around 5,000 GPs in the total of 40,500 UK GPs have been trained in health and work, and only a small sum has been spent on GP training compared to the 170 million that the government's actually invested into the new Fit Work service over the 5 years as well.
So what recommendations have the EEF made to kind of get the scheme back on track?
Yeah, well, EEF's tactic, I guess, is to urge government to set a fixed date by which all GPs and medical professionals will be trained in the use of the FitNote. What the repercussions are if these GPs don't actually hit this deadline, that hasn't actually been stated, and it's probably not really EEF's position to be able to kind of make any recommendations along those lines as well. But what they are doing as well is pushing the message that obviously there has to be some changes that come from inside industry as well. So some of the recommendations that EEF are throwing out are things like creating e-communities to allow more effective interaction and communication between GPs and employers, and also just simple measures such as making sure that new employees are trained on the use of FitNotes as part of their induction into a company as well.
It would definitely be worthwhile seeing how those recommendations are taken and furthered. So in other news, the SMMT have reported that British automotive manufacturing has delivered yet another strong performance last month. The sector really seems to be booming, doesn't it, Callum?
Yeah, it seems like there isn't almost a week that goes by when we don't hear about some positive news coming out of the UK automotive sector, particularly when we're looking at the OEMs as well. And yeah, I mean, this particular piece of news comes from the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, and shows that the sector has actually achieved its best half-year output since 2008, June 2008. So to give you some figures, the UK in June built 143,759 cars. The total number of these cars produced for export was actually up 9%, which is great news for the export markets. And it actually outperformed the domestic market, which unfortunately was down a little to 7.1%.
So June's impressive numbers have led into yet more positive news for the sector as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just want to put the focus onto the actual individual as employees working inside of our automotive factories, the SMMT has shown that the sector achieved £100,000 in added value per employee in 2014, compared with it was £74,000 in 2010. So we're looking at a 35% increase there as well. And I guess just to put that into some kind of context as well, looking at the greater scale of the UK employment, the average employee around the UK adds about £50,000 in added value per year. And with a lot of our car manufacturers really on the brink of launching new models in the next 12 to 18 months, I think we should hopefully see these figures go even further as well.
And finally, a BAE Systems graduate has developed something capable of delivering an estimated £45 million worth of cost savings over the next 2 decades. What's the story here?
Yeah, I really like this story, Johnny. So basically a graduate engineer at BAE Systems has developed a new type of masking tape, which the company says will drastically reduce time and deliver cost savings, as you said, of up to £45 million over the next 2 decades. So the team, including graduate Sam Ashworth, who normally engineers and manufactures parts for the new F-35 Lightning II aircraft at the Lancashire site, they've developed this clever solution which addresses a common problem of adhesive residue being left on aircraft parts or on components once it's removed. They normally use a heavy aluminium tape, and once that's peeled away you get this residue. We all know what it's like. But to remove this, it can be time consuming, it can be damaging to these very sensitive aerospace parts as well, and costly to remove. So this tape that they've developed, which I guess doesn't leave this residue, it's actually been so successful that it's already been put to use on the F-35 Lightning II aircraft, which the company is saying is saving them around £15,000 per aircraft. And they're also looking at implementing it into the production processes of both the Hawk and the Typhoon aircrafts as well. I just think this is great. It's one of those stories where, even though, yes, it's a big manufacturer, it's a very big manufacturer, but they're looking at some of the smaller processes that are coming in, and they're using it to save money, and it can potentially save them millions and millions of pounds. It's just one of those great stories that we do like to see here and read about it at the manufacturer.
Definitely British innovation at its finest. Some fantastic news coming out of UK manufacturing this week. Thanks for joining us, Callum. Don't forget that you can read all about these stories and more, including in-depth features and interviews at themanufacturer.com, as well as staying up to date by following TM on Twitter via @themanufacturer. And on one final note, nominations for TM's Top 100 2015, they close on July 31st. So if you know someone blazing a trail in UK manufacturing, get nominating. So that's all the time we've got for this week. As always, the links to all of these stories and how to get your TM Top 100 nomination will be included below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.